We're going to call our school board meeting to order. And it is 7:03 p.m. Members present, please.
Shaquille Ali.
Here.
Marie Brizuela.
Here.
Maybelle Manio.
Here.
Clayton Koo.
Here.
Manufo Leah Inga Anawai.
Here. And we are happy to have our Pledge of Allegiance led by Thomas R. Policita Middle School students. Thank you.
They're actually recent graduates in high school,
Alumni.
Oh, that's even better.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And at this time, we will review our board meeting guidelines, and board members will review the board meeting guidelines and report how well they adhere to the meeting guidelines at the end of the meeting. And as a reminder also from our superintendent, because of the echo from our mics, we want to keep them off unless we're actually speaking. All right, and we will move on to approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion
that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Do we have a motion and we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So we have a special presentation this evening, our photo contest that took place at TRP, Thomas R. Policita Middle School. And this was a collaborative partnership with JCYC and Daly City Prevention Collaborative to run an after-school program at Thomas R. Policita. The culminating activity was a photo contest that focused on think healthy and active. Here is what Policita youth do instead of drinking or smoking. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Erica Tamura, and I work at the Japanese Community Youth Council. We are a nonprofit in San Francisco, but have services here in Daly City. We are at, I think it's Ferdinand Rivera, as well as Policita, and Jefferson High School, and we have educational advisors who have already started the work here in Daly City, but we were fortunate enough to get a grant from the County of San Mateo Health Department to do community-based programs for substance abuse prevention. So Jefferson Union High School District is actually our fiscal agent through the Pacifica Prevention Partnership. Since we didn't have, we do a lot of prevention work in San Francisco, but haven't had the opportunity to in Daly City until now, or even San Mateo County. And so PPP is our lead agency, and they've kind of taken us under their wing to kind of show us the ropes. And our service area includes Daly City, Pacifica, and Colma. The program goal is simple. It's really just to mitigate the use and abuse of alcohol, marijuana, and other drugs in the Northwest Community Service area of San Mateo County. And as you can see, those are our program strategies, which we started, I think, we got a little bit of a late start. The contract was approved in January of 2018, and so we started our group with Policita shortly after that.
Good evening. My name is Brandon. I graduated last year from Thomas R. Policita. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm VJ. I graduated from TRP.
Hello, I'm Angelica. I graduated from TRP last year.
Hi, I'm Summer, and I graduated from TRP last year.
We were part of the first Youth Coalition. It was an after-school program at Thomas R. Policita Middle School, and it started with 7 youth representing all grades 6 through 8. Since the program began in the middle of the year, we met twice a week and participated in personal development workshops. The CMCA curriculum, and planning for a big event, which was the photo contest.
Our hallmark event for the year was the photo contest and photo boys contest. The theme was Think Healthy Activities. What do Polycity youth do instead of drinking and smoking? We put up flyers to get students to submit photos with captions. There were over 40 entries.
On May 24th, we held our photo gallery event, which displayed all the photos and captions. There was food and a DJ, and we announced the contest winners. Our group was responsible for the planning of the entire event.
And here are some pictures from our event. And a few more slides too. And this one?
Yeah, this is your picture.
Here's an example of my picture. Here are two of my friends. To stop this, we need changes to be made. We need to continue educating, guiding youth to make better decisions. We need people that listen to our challenges, struggles, and joys. We need a strong community.
Here's another example of one of the photo entries that we had. It was by Alejandra Velasco, and she said, instead of drinking and doing drugs, I like to exercise and play sports like basketball.
This is another entry from Christian Espada, and he says that instead of doing anything harmful, I like to travel and take pictures of the sunset wherever I go. This is a picture from a few days ago at 10 p.m.
This is Ian Jade Moeller. The caption says, instead of smoking and drinking, TRP students should go out and explore. We can do things such as biking or visiting waterfalls.
This is Cassandra Go, and instead of drinking or smoking, I love to go to events in the Bay Area to discover how colorful and diverse it really is.
The last example that we have for you is from Alan Jasper Aquino, Angelica's little brother. Whenever I'm bored, I play cards. It's not just a pastime, but it's also a way for me to get out of using electronic devices.
So that's the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks for that wonderful presentation. Peer education to me is sometimes the best kind of education, especially dealing with serious topics that the youth are interested in. So you guys showed great leadership, and thanks for also coming back after graduating out of our district, you know, so you're also showing that you're giving back to your community. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say that, oops, I got to turn it on, sorry. I just wanted to say thank you for coming as well, especially school's almost going to start soon, and here you've got other things to do, but you're here. I had the pleasure of going to that event, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. So thank you for putting it all together. If I need a caterer, I'm going to call you guys. But you did a real nice job, but especially all of the comments on those photos really made me feel good, that the students are actually thinking about what they can do and to be safe and not do things because other people do them. So thank you very much for your participation and bringing it to all the students as well as the parents and us. Thank you.
Thank you for attending.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
I also wanted to say thank you guys for being here. I really appreciated your presentation, and thank you to JCYC for coming to our district and providing these services for us. It's awesome. Thank you.
I want to echo my fellow board members to say thank you for the presentation, and I truly enjoyed the photos, actually. They actually looked really amazing, so I just want to congratulate everybody for that, and thanks to JCYC for all the work in helping to put this together.
I think I can echo the sentiments of my fellow colleagues on the board. I've known of JCYC for a long time in the city, so I appreciate the fact that you've expanded your work here in the peninsula. And I, like board member Ali had shared, it's really important that our younger generation, now that you've graduated out of our district, they see that you continue to be committed. And I think it's important that you transitioned up, that you're still in the work, and that's what I appreciate most, to see that there's continuity in your leadership. So thank you very much for being here this evening. We have some certificates to present to you for your dedication and your service, and keep up the great work. Thank you.
Certificate of appreciation to Angelica Aquino.
And we have another certificate of appreciation for BJ Guerrero.
Yeah.
Thank you all again. All right. At this time, we will move on to communications, and we will have board member acknowledgements and/or commendations, and we will start with Vice President Koo.
I don't really have many comments, but just want to wish everybody best of luck on the start of the new school year.
Trustee Manio.
Thank you. Sorry. I don't have any either, but I hope everybody's had a great summer, and I look forward to working with you guys as the school year starts.
Trustee Brusuela.
Well, I want to welcome everybody back after having vacation time off, and hope that we have a real successful year, like we always do. I would like at this time to ask if we could close, we weren't able to do it at the last meeting, but to close the meeting in memory of Don Ray Chuchi, who was one of our firefighters. He was actually a training officer, retired, and he passed away. And he did a lot of things with Operation Santa Claus, as well as with the children in schools and everything. And he was always there for everybody. So if we could close in memory of him. And also we lost a police officer from Daly City, Alexander Rollator, and it was pretty sudden for him also. He was very young. I think he was not quite 42, but anyway, leaving behind a family, and he'll be missed as well. So if we can close in memory of him.
Thank you. Trustee Ali. Thank you, and welcome back to another school year. I'm faithful that we'll have a wonderful year. We have a lot of great things happening. I know that we have, next week, we have the ribbon cutting ceremony for our soccer field at Woodrow Wilson, and then we have Institute Day this Friday. And I'm just, as a parent, I'm excited to push my youngest child back off to school. The other ones, I don't have to shuttle them anymore, so I've got one more in the hook, so I say, because I still have breakfast duty. So I wish you all well. I hope that you remain energized, and those that are not here and are watching, that we have our positive energy, infect others to do the great work and service that we continue to do. And another warm welcome to our new trustee, Board Trustee Manio, for taking on this task, and this is your first school year, so glad to have you. At this time, we will turn to correspondence and superintendent comments.
Yeah, so August has several markers. The fog, the heavy, thick fog coming down in from the ocean, and those pink flowers that pop up along the roadside with the long, slender stems. Both of those things say to me that school's just about to start, and in case I didn't know, but I do know. So we are getting ready to ramp up, and we start a week from today, and hoping all of our students are able to make it to school, and not too many have moved away. We have had a tremendous response to our online registration. First time we've ever done online registration. We started it for the summer. I think last time I heard, it's like 110 students have signed up online. So we hope to roll it out more widely in February for our new students, and it's going to be a great time saver for everybody, including parents. We no longer have to fill out their emergency forms every year. One thing I did want a piece of correspondence and wanted to draw your attention to is you all have this in your packet. The grand jury did release their report this year. Fortunately, we don't have to respond like we have had in past years. But this report is on the big lift, and it is around, the impetus to start the big lift, what are the, a descriptor of what the pillars are, what the focus is, what some of the initial results are, and what some of the funding challenges are. So I'm appreciative that the grand jury decided to take on this topic, because it is very important, and getting to a point where in San Mateo County we can say we want to offer preschool to anybody who wants it is a good place to be, and I hope we get there soon. So you can read that at your leisure. It is available on the grand jury's website for anybody else who might be interested. It will also be attached to our board minutes.
Thank you, Superintendent Vidalis. Now we move on to administrator comments.
I can start. Just want to welcome everyone back. As Mr. Vidalis said, school starts next Wednesday, August 22nd. So we're looking forward to another great school year. We've been busy training all of our teachers on the new curriculum that you adopted last spring. And so I think we're at 99% of our teachers after tomorrow. We have just a handful of folks that we need to catch up that were unable to come in the summer. But we have everyone ready to go. And on Institute Day, we are going to be offering a variety of choice training sessions, some to follow up with some of the new curriculum, others to talk about social emotional learning, some behavior strategies, classroom, community classroom building, also some yoga and SEL for our social emotional learning, sorry, the acronyms. And then we're also, with the big five, the safety measures, we're offering CPR, so all sorts of programs. And so we invite the board to come join us. We'll have an opening, and then sites will have time with their staff for about an hour, and then they'll get to do some choice sessions to get ready for the school year and have it very exciting and uplifting for everyone. So I just want to welcome everyone back.
I want to say that it really says something that these students are willing to come back to a district that they graduated from. During summer, it's not over yet, and they came back. And they're not only the leaders of tomorrow, but they're leaders of today. And I think it's wonderful that we have programs that offer them these opportunities. I also want to say about coming back to school, you can now fill out the free and reduced lunch application online. So please do it, and then that will also automatically enroll you in the free drawing in October for the prizes that we have each year that is sponsored by Sodexo. And please apply for the free and reduced. If you don't qualify, you still go into the drawing. It's quite all right. But it's online now, and you can also fill it out. Students will get one in their packet, a hard copy, paper copy if somebody wants to do it that way, but you can also do it online.
Yeah, just want to welcome everybody back. We've been seeing lots of folks coming back to the sites, and at the district office there's been trainings. We had the new teacher orientation last week, and our new teachers return back to work on Thursday, and our returning teachers on Friday. So welcome back everybody, and our classified staff who is returning next week. Welcome back to them too.
Thank you. At this time, we have persons wishing to address the board. And this portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any issue that is under the board's jurisdiction and not on the agenda. The maximum time allowed for any speaker is usually 2 minutes. And we are also not allowed to comment. That's just a reminder. And at this time, we do have Donna Hart, a retired teacher of our district. And her topic is Phil Burnett. Welcome, Ms. Hart.
Thank you. Good evening to the board, to the superintendent, to the directors and administrators. I'm taking this moment, kind of a moment of speech instead of a moment of silence, to remember our former colleague and my friend, Philip Burnett. Phil died last Tuesday after a 2-year battle with a glioblastoma, a brain tumor that stole his sight, his physical strength, but not his warmth or his wit, his integrity, and especially not his ability to make a difference in the lives of everyone that he touched. Phil was all about making a difference. He mentored students and teachers alike during his years at Daniel Webster. He believed education was truly about building relationships and being there for our most vulnerable students and their families. What set Phil apart, though, was that he kept these relationships active for years. I visited him in San Diego 2 months ago to say goodbye. I was excited because I was going to tell him about one of our former students. I had him in 3rd grade, he had him in 4th. That's what we did all the time. He had just graduated from high school. So I said, Phil, guess what? Melvin graduated from high school. And he's got a full ride scholarship to college. And he just smiled at me from the bed. And he said, I know. And so I looked at him like, what? And he said, yeah, I know. And he tells me the name of the college that Melvin is going to. And then he says, I talk to Melvin every Friday. Now, he had Melvin 8 years ago in class. So that's just one little example from this life of this man who made such a difference for so many children in our district and for so many teachers. Sitting in palliative care, hundreds of miles away, he knew what that boy was going to do, and he had made a difference in that boy's life, so he was able to do it. Phil and I had a lot of conversations during the past 2 years. He often told me how lucky he was. He said, it's a gift to have time to spend with my family, my friends, teachers, kids that I knew. Not everyone has that, he said. But I always told him, no, Phil, it's me. I'm the lucky one. I'm lucky to have had you in our lives. We're all much richer for having had you in our lives. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve our consent agenda.
C.
10C? Okay. So you'd like 10C to be removed from consent? Any other items? Eleven B. Do we have any other? Do you have any? Okay, all right. So do we have a motion then to approve our consent agenda with the removal of 10C and 11B?
I'll update my motion to approve the consent agenda, removing those 2 items.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, roll call, please.
Mr. Ali?
Aye.
Ms. Brizuela?
Aye.
Ms. Manio?
Aye.
Mr. Koo?
Aye.
Ms. Leah Inga Anawai?
Aye. Thank you. At this time, we will discuss the administrative appointment for 2018-19 for Ms. Bettina M. Lopez. The administration recommends approval of the following administrative appointment for her as a principal at Benjamin Franklin Middle School, effective August 16th, 2018, 219 work days, step 10, with a salary of $143,000, $143.09 plus an $1,100 for master's degree prorated to start date. Do we have any comments and/or questions? And if not, do we have a motion?
This one say, you said program. Okay, I just thought it sounded different. So, okay, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the hiring for the appointment of Bettina M. Lopez, principal at Benjamin Franklin Middle School, effective August 16, 2018, as listed here. I don't want to have to say it all again.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Do we need roll call for this one, or can we? Okay, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And Ms. Lopez,
Here she is.
would you like to join us? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to start working with the community and faculty of Benjamin Franklin. Very eager to work in a middle school setting, so thank you very much, and I look forward to being here in the future.
Thank you.
You don't have to talk to me.
Did anyone have any other comments, or?
No, just welcome.
Trustee Manio has.
Principal Lopez, I just want to say welcome and thank you for coming to our district, and I hope that you have a great year. My daughter is going to Ben this year too, so go Falcons.
Awesome. Welcome again. At this time, we will move on to our CSBA call for nominations for directors at large. And this is, a CSBA is seeking nominations for directors at large, Asian Pacific Islander and Hispanic. I think there's something missing, I'm sorry. The administration recommends that the board considers making a nomination. Nomination packets are due to the superintendent by September 13th for consideration at the September 26th board meeting. This is for informational purposes, but we wanted to open up the dialogue if anyone was interested, and or if not, I know that we have applications available.
Yes, the application packet is attached to this agenda item online or in your binder. Please reach out to any folks you think that might be great candidates for this. There is some application materials that they will need to provide. You can't just, and we do need to have their consent if we are going to nominate them. So please get that to me by September 13th, and we can consider it at our September 26th meeting.
Great. Thank you. It's a great opportunity. Thank you for sharing that. Now we will move on to curriculum and instruction of pupil personnel services. And we will be hearing from Ms. McCulloch on English language development updates.
Yes, I'm going to invite our English learner program director, Benjamin Moser, to come on up to share the updates for us.
I was ready to hand that over to Ms. McCulloch. Good evening, everybody. A pleasure to be here. Ms. McCulloch, do you want this? There we go. So it's my pleasure to be here to present some updates related to the latest data, reclassification, and we'll also touch upon the new language proficiency assessment. So let's dive right in. This pie chart illustrates English language acquisition status by overall percent of enrollment. So I'm going to start with the gray. You'll see that 6% of our students are considered initially fluent English proficient. So what that means is when they fill out the home language survey, the parents, if indeed a language other than English is indicated, we will then test the students. At which point, right then, they were deemed fluent on the language proficiency assessment. Then if we jump over to English learners, you'll notice that 42% of our students in JESD are English learners. 15% have been reclassified as fluent English proficient. So this means after a number of years, they will continue to take, at this point called the LPAC, but then they will meet 4 criteria. And so we have about 15% who have done so. And then lastly, we have 37% English-only students in the district. So I thought this would be interesting just to kind of get a snapshot of when I go into a classroom, when I'm talking to teachers, my first question before we do anything are, who are your students? So before we decide what we teach or what they need, let's check to see who indeed are the students. Next, this kind of provides a timeline of English language acquisition status over the past 5 years. It also highlights how some groups, for example, English learners in dark blue and English only in green, have remained relatively stable over the past 5 years, while the district has experienced a decrease and then a stabilization in IFEPs in the light gray and RFEPs. Increased and then fluctuated slightly, but pretty much has remained stable the last few years. We have a new term in the last couple of years, and this is called EVER-EL, and it refers to students who are currently designated as an English learner and students who were formerly designated as an EL, but who have now been reclassified fluent English, or RFEP. And all that is if you add up the blue and the purple, those two groups. Next, I thought I'd show you the percent of students meeting or exceeding standards on CASP, the ELA portion assessment. And so 4 different groups: IFEPs, RFEPs, EOs, and ELs. So in my world, we've got a lot of acronyms. So, but that just kind of gives you a snapshot that shows you IFEPs, are performing at the top, and then you can kind of take a quick scan of the other groups. Similarly, in mathematics, we have lower percentages, but still the same groups as far as IFEP, RFEP, EO, and English learner. In this slide, we have the percent of English learners by years designated as an English learner. So I see, as I was reviewing this, the total percentages actually equal 101%, so just shave off 0.333 on each. Sorry about that. Yes, 1 extra percentage. Glad I checked that out. But you'll see that 60% of our English learners have been here from, 3 years or fewer. 25 at 4.5, and then 6+ years, 16%. So we've transitioned to a new language proficiency. Actually, they are assessments, and it's called the English Language Proficiency Assessments in California, or LPAC. So what you see here, these are the first summative results for the district. So this was taken, the bulk of the students did this last February, and we received these results. Actually, they're still trickling in. So level 4 means well-developed, level 3, moderately developed, 2, somewhat developed, and level 1 means minimally developed. And so that gives you a snapshot across the grade levels as far as how our students are doing. So right now, as we launch the school year, we're gearing up for the initial assessment. For the summative, we tested close to 2,700 students. Right now, we're looking at about 380 or 390 that we are testing for the initial. So in July, you folks updated and approved, or I actually updated, you approved the reclassification criteria. And what that does is reflect the new English language proficiency assessment, and also looking at the comparison of performance in basic skills. Over the last few years, we've been in transition, going from CST, we did Riverside for a couple years as we were waiting really for CASP to be validated. The state really wouldn't give much guidance. So what this really, I've tried to align with is for sure our high school district, to make sure that it would be seamless for the CASP ELA level. And the rest we've added in third grade this year also. Just we want to make sure that we do have an opportunity to reclassify students, but we also don't want to do it too quickly. We want to make sure that we provide the support. So I've raced through a great deal of data, so I'm going to open it up at this point for some questions. And welcome. It's so nice to meet you.
We have a question.
It's interesting. Well, first of all, thanks.
Of course.
But it's interesting you mentioned racing through the data, because my question was, how are you interpreting this data? What is the story that you are telling based on the data?
Be more specific, the story.
Like what does this mean for our district? Are we progressing? Are we stagnant? Are we falling behind with our progression of our English learners? Or?
Well, I would say there's always room for improvement. So, because we've been in transition, it depends on what data that you look at. For example, with LPAC, it's based on different standards. The ELD standards are new. The test is much more rigorous. It's much more closely aligned, I believe, with the CASP. So it may be a little premature to say, at this point, I'm sharing the data with folks before. For example, if you look at second grade, look at the number of students who are well-developed. I'm a little suspect. So my first call was to the county, like, how is everybody else doing? So I wonder a little bit about, the validity about some of the questions. So I am, at this point, sharing before, and it looks like Ms. Mikulik is ready to. Were you ready to chime in?
Yes, I was going to chime in. So you'll notice that it says 16-17 data for CASP. The data is still embargoed, and so in September I'll be sharing with you the EL proficiency data. We are outperforming neighboring districts with our English learners, but I also caution that we also have a new reclassification criteria, and so that could affect how we're looking at our scores. However, our English learners are doing well, but 16% is higher than a lot of districts, but it's still 16%. Right. But you have to remember our English learners are still learning English. And so the test is all in English and they're expected to take it. So especially math, any newcomers have to take that test. So, you take that with a grain of salt. But I'll be giving more information about that at a later date.
All right, thanks. And then
I
just
can
another
chime in a bit
question.
of that. So Mr. Mosier introduced you to a new term, the EVER EL.
Right.
And that, I think, might be a better group of students to monitor over time. Students who are currently English learners, some of them, you see, will perform at levels that they can be reclassified, about between 16 and 20% will every year. Then they get reclassified. Everybody else who's left did not perform that high. So that group is always going to be behind the eight ball, so to speak, because they haven't achieved proficiency. The redesignated students you see are high flyers, right? They were the ones who performed proficiently early on, and are kids who do really well in school. And so that's sort of the cream of the crop, and that's not fair to just look at that. So what we're going to start to do is look at anyone who has ever been an English learner, and how are they doing over time, because that group stays pretty much consistent. And if we can see improvements in that, we can say that our English learner program is a positive thing. And as Ms. McCulloch shared, every year I do look at how our neighboring districts in the county, how they address the needs of English learners, and we tend to be among the top in terms of how our students do. So that's something to be proud of. So we know our English language development is working, and we know that, well, it's working better than surrounding districts, and that we're addressing those needs. I mean, it is a group of students that we do try to pay attention to, and Mr. Mosier has been good about sharing that information with classroom teachers, that they know who their students are so that they can adapt.
Okay, thank you. And then just really quickly, can you recap the levels again?
Sure, I have to peek at them too. You notice that I don't quite have them memorized yet, but here we go. And I will say this is just for summative. For the initial, they have different designations, and I believe it will be IFEP, maybe intermediate, and a novice in English learner. So I'm still learning those. But these I have written and in front of me. Level 4, well developed. Level 3, moderately. Level 2, somewhat. And level 1, minimally.
All right.
So we're going from 5 levels, CELT, to 4 levels. And it's helpful in grouping because rarely were we able to do 5 distinct EL groups. So this will help, I believe, for designated ELD.
So, I have a question.
Of course.
I know that they're all English learners, but do we take into account sometimes their situation at home? Or is there something that might make some students be better learners? I mean, do we evaluate that at all, ever?
I'm not sure if I am understanding the question directly. We certainly do have a parent group, which would be DLAC, which I meet with 4 times a year and encourage all families of English learners to join. Or we'll have strategies of, hey, in addition to, again, a lot of my world is regulation, but also just, hey, how can you help your child at home? That's the number one question that people like, what can I do at home?
I keep forgetting to put that on. I'm sorry. Sometimes some of the students don't have that ability at home to get that extra help to kind of reaffirm what they're learning. And I was just wondering if that ever comes into play, that we could do something to help them out.
We address any question and we support, any family that comes into our schools, into DLAC. So, any specifics that you had, please send my way. I'd be happy to work with any family that you feel that needs additional support.
Great.
Can I ask something based on what you just
go ahead.
brought up? So you said that's the number one question is what can I do at home? So what is our usual answer to that?
So it depends on, when I say that, a parent will be, how can I help my child learn English? I think my first question would be, are you going to the library? Are you continuing your native language? So literacy in L1 leads to literacy in L2. So those, and it's just affirming, just flat out. So, and that's a shift from where we were a number of years ago with English only. So that's one of the first ways that I would address that.
Thank you.
Well, when I was working in South San Francisco for the adult school and teaching English for second language,
Yes.
we found out that the students were teaching the parents. And so that's why I'm asking the question. I didn't want to have anybody left without that extra help. That's all.
No, and of course, and we still partner with the high school district to offer, the free English classes for adults. So
Good.
that continues in partnership with the high school district.
Great. Well, thank you.
Questions or comments? Thank you. This is, for me, being a translator in my community, I know that this is a huge learning piece for our students and our families, because the home piece and how they're impacted in school is a very important transitional piece for our kids. And I love seeing that we are doing well, and we're doing much better than a lot of our neighboring districts, which again is a testament for the quality of work that we see in our district. So thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure, and it's very purposeful work. So thank you so much.
Thank you. At this time, we will move on to 10C, Contracted Services Agreement with Crown Building Maintenance Company, DBA Able Building Maintenance and Jefferson Elementary School District. And the administration recommends approval of a contract with Crown Building Maintenance for the amount not to exceed $186,000. So did we have a question from?
I want to know exactly what that was for. I wasn't able to really understand it.
You were not able to understand why we have a contract with Able. Okay.
Yes. I want to know
Yes. So, as you know, as you may know, getting custodial subs has been quite a difficulty for our district, and not just our district, but districts throughout San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. This company, Able, has come up and has been approached by San Mateo County School Insurance Group to consider utilizing their folks to come to our schools and provide the cleaning when we are not able to get subs. I think right now, I spoke to Ms. Kessler last week about this, there's an average of 2 unfilled custodial positions every day. We have 4 absences average, and we have enough subs to fill 2 of them, and we don't have enough subs for the remaining 2. And so this was a big need for us because we want to make sure that all of the efforts in cleaning our schools, that we can stay on top of it and have the nightly cleaning or the daily cleaning that needs to happen. So part of that, and this number is an estimate of, so it's a two a day for the rest of the year is going to be this much. The other part also, during the summer, we employ all of our custodians, all of our substitute custodians, a summer work crew. We still needed more people to do some of the deeper cleaning that we wanted to do in our schools, and it hasn't really been done until the summer. Especially in terms of the coats of wax on the floor. And so some of this also, they have agreed to support us with those kinds of duties as well. So again, this is not replacing anybody. This is to fill vacancies. Not fill vacancies, fill substitutes where a substitute would go. We still try to call everybody on our sub list when we have an absence. And we can use these folks to help fill in those gaps.
So just repeat one more thing. How many, you're just saying every day there's an absence? So how many custodians do we have?
How many custodians do we have? We have an average of 2 custodians at every school, average. So
No, total, how many?
32 to 34, yeah.
30?
So some custodians, they're 12-month employees, so they also take vacation. So there's vacations and there's absences, and so it's an average of 4 out every day. Average. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes fewer.
So, and I thought we also saw, did somebody retire, resign? Have we lost some custodians? It seems like
We've had some, in maintenance, we've had more retirements. We've had quite a few coming down, and in custodians as well. We've also had some injuries that are long-term injuries that, you know, cannot be filled with a new employee. So, and are with the labor market as it is and the building market as it is, getting folks has been very difficult. We've done a lot of recruitment, and even just getting folks for our eligibility lists, finding folks that are not only can qualify to test, but that actually can continue that process has been very difficult, and it's been dramatically different over the last couple of years. It's been noticeable.
So we have been actively seeking out and having examinations for those jobs? Interesting. Okay. So this is not going to be all the time, hopefully, because I thought...
Our goal is to employ from our own sub first, and our goal is to have the positions are filled. It's just that there's folks who are out due to vacation or illness, and we need to fill it with our substitutes. And when we can't do it with that, rather than leaving a school site unclean, we can contract with, utilize this contract to get some refill positions. And this is a new trend that's happening. This also is happening with certificated teachers as well, that there's an agency that works with a group of certificated teachers, which people who are employed as substitutes like, because they don't have to apply to 5 different districts with 5 different applications, 5 different fingerprints. They can apply with one organization, and they can then be sent out to be substitutes in different school districts. So it is a trend that we're starting to see more of.
So are these people that they're sending from this building maintenance, do they meet the qualifications that are specified in the handbook for classified personnel? Do they meet
for
all of those
substitutes.
standards?
They meet the criteria for substitutes.
No, but do they meet the job specification that we have for classified personnel?
For the substitutes, yes.
I mean, you have a different one for substitutes than you do for the regular employee?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That was a big change.
Well, if they met the criteria for regular employee, we probably would employ them because we have openings. So.
And in some cases, some of our substitutes work in multiple classifications. They might be maintenance, they might be custodial. Some will even do PE aides and things of that nature. So.
From this company?
No. I'm just talking our general substitute pool.
Oh, okay.
So, but just the folks that are that pool for custodial and maintenance as well has shrunk significantly, as well as our other pools.
And do we advertise to try and fill that gap?
It's ongoing.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just questioning.
No. I mean, I think it's
we really
appropriate.
need to have qualified people in jobs.
Yeah, these folks also meet all the standards for the background checks. And it is, this was spearheaded by San Mateo County School Insurance Group because they've seen the ways that facilities are impacted when they're not cared for on a regular basis, and they felt like this was a need that they could help districts fill centrally. So that's.
And how, even though you gave us the total amount, how much do they, when these people come into work, are they being paid the same salary that we pay an employee there, or are they getting a higher salary?
I'm not sure it's higher, but it is at their rate. It's the rate that the organization pays.
Well, if we know what the rate is, then we should be able to figure out.
Well, I just said I don't know.
Okay.
Just like
So somebody must know. I'd like to know to make sure that we're not paying a whole lot more money for a company to bring someone in as opposed to what our employees are making.
I don't know what they're getting paid, but we pay the agency. We put it up to $37 an hour. We pushed it up because they were going to have a slight increase, and so just to be on the safe side, it ended up being $37 an hour. It's probably a little bit less than that, but just so that the math isn't underestimated. But then again, the company is going to make some money too, right? So I don't know what the people are getting paid.
That's why I asked the question, because I do know that's what happens.
Yeah, and then the company then covers all of their other costs, health insurance and that kind of thing as well, so.
So they work with the idea of we're not being liable if they get hurt.
Correct.
And they get no other
They are
benefits.
not on our workers' compensation.
Okay. So we're paying for it anyway. If they charge us more than what we pay our custodians, and the increase
and
covers that somewhere along the line.
Yeah, and again, as I said,
Yeah,
our
so we're
goal
paying for it.
goal is to hire our own,
Yeah,
well,
I
certainly our
hope so.
custodians, but our own substitutes as well, because we want them to know our buildings and know our schools, and that is a value to us.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I asked enough questions.
Did we have any other questions? Trustee Ali, did you have a question?
No, just a comment that I'm glad that we have this in place and that, hopefully this will be a benefit to the schools, that they'll have people to clean up and do those tasks when the subs aren't available. And I'd like to make a motion that we approve this contract with Crown Building Maintenance Company. Is that all right? Doing business as Able Building Maintenance for the amount not to exceed $186,000.
I'll second the motion.
Do we have a motion and we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. I appreciate board members' due diligence. This is a trend that we have been seeing throughout, and it is important that we have this support in place. I look at it as like a temp agency.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are going to pay higher, and we can't know how much they are getting directly, but I'm glad that we have this. I'm glad that we have this in place. So our next item is certificated personnel, 11B, hired certificated teachers in 2018-19. And I know that was an item, was it Trustee Ali?
We have 11A first.
I'm sorry, 11A. Oh, 11A first, I'm sorry. Yes. 11A is certificated resignations, 2017-2018. The administration recommends acceptance of the following resignations and requests appropriate resolutions be prepared commending those with 10 or more years of service with the district. James Parrish III, principal at Ben Franklin, resignation effective June 29th, 2018. Mr. Parrish has been employed by the district since September 4th, 1992. Rebecca Brickhill, kindergarten teacher at MHT, resignation effective June 15th, 2018, and Ms. Brickhill has been employed by the district since August 16th, 2016. Do we have any comments and/or motion?
Well, I have a comment. I'm sad to see Mr. Parrish's name on here. He was one of the principals that welcomed me when I was a substitute in this district, and I subbed a lot at Ben Franklin. And I was actually surprised to see this, so I wish him well, whatever he's doing. I know he'll be successful, and yeah. But I'm also happy that we have someone else to get in there and do that work. It's important, and so anyway, that's it.
Do you have any other comments?
And I'd like to say the same thing. He's always been real kind to us whenever we went to the schools and welcomed us, and the students seemed to really enjoy him, and he's done a great job. So we'll miss him. It was like a shock because we didn't even know. The boom, it happened, but it's okay. We have a new person now, so we'll say the same thing about you later. We know we will.
Gotta earn some stripes.
Can I just say something? I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, I want to say I agree. Mr. Parrish was my oldest daughter's principal way back when, so I've got my gray hairs to show that he has been there a while. And his community partnership has just been exemplary. I think he's been a wonderful asset, and it, again, is a perfect example of the quality of teachers and collaborators and partners that we have in our district. It is sad to see him go, but I think it's wonderful that Ms. Lopez will be taking on the task and taking on that new role, and we are very impressed by your qualifications. And you do have big shoes to fill, but we're confident that you will do well there. So if we have a motion to wish Mr. Parrish well and Ms. Brick Hill and thank them for their services.
I'll make the motion.
I'll make the motion to accept the following resignations and request appropriate resolutions be prepared commending those with 10 or more years of service with the district. James Parrish, principal at Benjamin Franklin, and Rebecca Brickhill, kindergarten teacher at Marjorie H. Tobias.
Motion. We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Congratulations to both of them for their service to our students and our families. Now we will move on to hired certificated teachers for 2018-2019. And I believe this was an item, Trustee Ali, that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, I just wanted to give these new hires the proper welcome and say congratulations, and hopefully, they all say temp status, so I did want to ask Mr. Valenti to clarify that just briefly, and then I'll speak again.
No problem. Yeah, when somebody's first year hired into the district, employee, their first year is called temporary. Their second year is probationary. And then the first day of their third year, well, as soon as the board takes action, of course, then they become tenured.
Okay.
So certain rights apply to a temporary employee, sort of little more rights apply to the probationary employee, and then when they become tenured, that permanency status. So there's some nuanced differences, but that's essentially it.
All right, thanks. That's what I thought. So I wanted to give them a word of encouragement, and hopefully, we'll see them progress through those stages and become tenured. So that was it.
I want to share something with our new board members here. That many years ago, teachers did not have that privilege. And they could be working here 14, 15 years, and they were given the pink slip. And it was really sad because we brought a lot of them back, but what they had to go through for so many years. And it was probably the second year that I was on the board that the board members got together and said, we have to make it better for our teachers so they know that they're permanent or that they will be permanent, and that's how that changed. So you can imagine working for how many years and feeling like you don't know if they flipped a coin. And they used to pull the names out of the hat. And that's how they did. I mean, they didn't even look at dates. They pulled the number out of the hat. And it was really kind of sad. So we've come a long ways, and I can just say it's a privilege to know that our teachers are given the 2 years, and then they are permanent, because it means a lot. It means a lot to their being able to plan their life. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Thank you. So do we have a motion to welcome our new staff?
Yeah, I move that we hire the following teachers for the 2018-2019 school year as listed.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Congratulations and welcome. We now will look at hired certificated teacher with provisional internship permit, multiple subject credential 2018-19, and the administration recommends hiring Jules, is it Dizon? Dizon, with a provisional internship permit effective August 16th. As stated, CLS 1A Step 1, $54,645. The district has been unsuccessful in recruiting a fully credentialed multiple subject teacher to fill the TIG position at SBA. And Mr. Dizon is it Mr.? Mr. Dizon is scheduled to complete his program and apply for the preliminary credential this December 2018.
Great.
So, do you have no questions?
No.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we hire, Mr. Dizon as a provisional internship effective August 16, 2018 at Step 1. And welcome.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Move on to adaptive PE variable term waiver request for 2018-2019, and the administration recommends approval of the request for an adaptive physical education variable term waiver for multi-subject credentialed teacher, Mr. Edward Arias, for 2018-2019 school year. And the waiver is required while Mr. Arias is enrolled in the adaptive PE program at San Francisco State University. The administration recommends approval of the waiver request. Do we have any questions? If not, do we have a motion?
So since we already hired him, we kind of have to do this? Mr. Valenti? Can you explain it just a little?
Yeah, so the adaptive PE position requires this accreditation that he's going to go back to school for. He's committed, but we have a relationship with San Francisco State, so we also support teachers to go back and for tuition reimbursement. So we would reimburse him per semester, and he, after he graduates from the program, has a 2-year commitment to stick with the district after that, so it wouldn't include whatever time period that he is with us. So the job offer has been made, he's accepted. I guess to say that we have to take him would imply that if there was a problem that we couldn't extricate ourselves from that situation.
All right.
And we can extricate ourselves if there is an issue, if he fails to complete the program, or if there's problems therefore. So it's both a handshake and a signed agreement that he agrees to return. Did that help answer that?
Yes,
Okay.
it does. Thank you.
Sure.
Do you have any other questions? No? So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the request for an adaptive physical education variable term waiver for multi-subject credentialed teacher, Mr. Edward Aries, for the 2018-2019 school year.
Do you have a second? You have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We now move on to classified personnel. Mr. Marquez. Yeah. So we will discuss the retirement and classified personnel.
So, two of our folks, longtime employees, Mr. Luciano Navarro, he's our instructional assistant at the special ed position at Benjamin Franklin, has been with us since 2004, has tendered his retirement. And Ms. Yenny Kwan, who's been the longtime administrative assistant at our maintenance department as well, will be retiring. I want to thank both of them. They've been longtime employees and have been dedicated to our district, and recommend that the board accept their retirements.
Thank you. Do you have any comments and/or motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the retirement request for Lupiano Navarro Jr. and Yenny Kwan, and request appropriate resolutions be prepared commending them for the years of service with the district.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We now move on to resignations of classified personnel.
All right, practice my singing voice. So, unfortunately, some of our folks have had to make some changes, all for the better, but still they left us. So we have Ms. Karen Kahn, who's been a special circumstance instructional assistant at FDR for some time, and she's be moving on this year. Also, Ms. Emma Sandoval Harvey, who's been a food service assistant at General Pershing. And finally, Ms. Alana O'Neill, another special circumstance instructional assistant, and I believe daughter of our new principal at Westlake Elementary School. I believe she's going back to university. And Mr. Brian Conroe from our maintenance tech department. So the administration will recommend the approval of these recommendations.
Thank you. So do we have comments, questions, or?
I move that we approve the resignations of the following classified employees as listed, and that resolutions be prepared commending those with 10 or more years of service with the district.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We now move on to our governance team member comments, reports, and reflection from the board on meeting guidelines and/or other comments. Trustee Ali?
Yes, I chose the first one, which is keeping our focus on the best interests of our students. And I'm just glad that we're back at it, and hopefully all of us will keep our students' best interests in their minds as we're doing our jobs, whether it's student facing in the classroom or these maintenance workers. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Trustee Bruce.
And I continue to pick number one. I just believe we have to always focus on the best interests of our students. And I'm glad you mentioned what you said, because our students go to school, not only are they touched and greeted and helped by our teachers, but other people that are working in the schools also enter into their lives. If they fall down on the playground, someone is there to take care of them, etc. So it's nice to know that we have a family together at every school that takes care of our students. And our teachers are the first, up front, first ones. Okay.
Thank you. Trustee Manio?
I chose keeping our remarks brief and to the point and staying focused on the topic. I know that I'm still new, so I just want to make sure that I understand everything before I speak on it. So.
Thank you. Trustee Koo?
I selected, we will listen actively and openly, but upon the ideas of others, look for common ground and paraphrase for understanding. And I think we did that tonight.
Thank you. And I chose, we will communicate openly and honestly, respect differences, deliberate, and address process. And I think we've done that tonight. And I want to wish everyone a great school year. And I just ask that people be mindful. We have students coming back from summer, and we have no idea what they've experienced this summer, what they're carrying, and sometimes they're not able to verbalize that for us, and even the teachers and the families that we serve. So it's so important that we approach each day with kindness and, and refresh ourselves when we're bombarded by the mundane madness of every day. And I can speak to that. I can truly speak to that. But I know that sometimes every day I see someone and I never know what's going on with them. And when I find out what is, I just wish I could have done it differently. So I share that, just a little bit of wisdom that I receive. And I just wish you all well. I'm so proud of the work that we do here. I say that a lot, and you may hear it at every meeting, but I say it and I mean it. I really mean it. I have tons of nieces and nephews in this district, and I hear it all the time. They could be somewhere else, but they choose not to. They stay here. And you all are one of the main reasons why they do. They do not want to move their kids out of our school district. They don't. They know they got it good here. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So at this time, this is the fun stuff. Do we have any persons wishing to address the board on closed session? Okay, so at this time, we will convene to closed session, but before we do that, we'd like to close in memory of some wonderful individuals, one being Philip Burnett, who was a teacher at Daniel Webster Elementary School, Don Ray Chuchi, who was a wonderful servant here in our city with the fire department, and lastly, Alexander Rollader, who was with our police department. So if we could take a moment to remember these wonderful spirits. Thank you. Be well. We will take a 5-minute break before closed session.